Look, I'm not the smartest cookie in the jar, but I have found in my humble, objective opinion that the best way to deal with injuries is to not get any in the first place. And this is where prehab comes into play, because while rehabilitation exercises are there to help you recover from injury, prehab exercises are there to keep you from getting any in the first place. That's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go through some of my top prehab exercises. They're gonna help you virtually bulletproof your body so you can avoid all those pesky injuries most people suffer from as they progress through their fitness journey. So if you're ready, let's go and have some fun. Now, my channel regulars will probably hate me for talking about this exercise again, but it is just that good of an exercise. The passive hang, dead hang, or decompressive hang, call it whatever you want to call it, is one of the most amazing prehab exercises you can use. Not only are we building massive amounts of forearm strength and grip strength, which is a nice bonus to have, but we're also basically decompressing every single joint in our entire body, starting at our wrists, moving throughout our elbows, our shoulders, decompressing our entire spine, helping us create space throughout our vertebrae for them to move into the right place, the place they belong in, helping us release back tension, shoulder tension, lumbar tension, helping us with the most common posture problems like slumped shoulders, frozen shoulder, and shoulder winging, as well as basically stretching every single muscle in our entire upper body, moving from the side throughout our triceps into our latissimus, lengthening every single fiber here and opening up everything surrounding our core musculature as well, which next to helping us with upper body flexibility also feels absolutely amazing. Not to mention that this can help us build the necessary grip strength that we can use to advance our calisthenics routines as well, if of course that is one of your goals. And if you want to make this an even more effective prehab exercise, what you are going to add is the classic scapular pull-up, or basically just a switch between passive and active hang, moving our shoulder blades into scapular elevation and abduction, as well as scapular depression and adduction, which is going to help us even more with shoulder posture, shoulder mobility, and most importantly, the strength surrounding our shoulder joint as well as our scapula for better overall upper body health. Now, one of the most problem-prone regions in our body, especially for people who do a lot of fitness work and for people who don't do any kind of fitness work, is our knees and our hips. And one of the most effective ways of dealing with those problem zones is called the reverse Nordic curl, basically lengthening our entire anterior chain, putting a lot of pressure on working on our hip joints as well as our knee joints, and building massive amount of anterior chain strength. So we are switching between lengthening our anterior chain all the way, starting at the lowest insertion surrounding our knees, going through our tibialis as well, because we are in this ankle extension, all the way through our abdominals, lower abdominals, upper abdominals, opening up our transverse abdominis as well as building strength in all of those muscle fibers when reversing this movement pattern. Which means that now we have a complete anterior chain stretch that, if we can combine with a complete posterior chain stretch, like for instance a classic forward fold, lengthening our entire posterior chain all the way up or down towards our neck. We've now basically almost covered full body flexibility with just 2 simple moves. And progressing through this exercise can be as easy as simply going through short ranges of motion, like so, until you develop the necessary flexibility as well as strength, but most importantly, coordination and full body control to move through an ever increasing range of motion. Or if you have one, you can simply use a resistance band to go through a complete range of motion, even if you do lack the necessary coordination as well as strength. And over time, you should be able to either use a thinner band or move away from assistant movements in general and simply go through the whole thing all by yourself. Now, one of the most amazing prehab exercises that has so many benefits, I don't even have time to put them in a single video, especially when it comes to strength as well as coordination and balance, is the Bulgarian split squat. Please stay with me. Don't worry, I'm gonna make this interesting. I'm gonna make this worth your while. This exercise gets way too much hate for how effective it is at basically strengthening your entire body and working on the problem zones that we deal with the most. Once again, our knees and hips, we've got a nice stretch throughout our quadriceps and our hip flexors, opening up our hips, which means that we are essentially helping create space for our hip joint to go through a longer range of motion, which is gonna reduce our risk of injury over time. The same thing goes for our knees and our ankles, and we are strengthening our legs, especially our quads, and most importantly for men, our glutes, which usually gets neglected by men when they work out, and is an insane oversight because your glutes are responsible for hip extension, which is one of the most essential movement patterns your hips have to go through. And if your glutes are too weak, it's gonna literally come back to bite you in the ass later on. So what you're gonna do when it comes to Bulgarian split squats to make them as effective as possible: number one, work on your stability as well as your range of motion until you can comfortably bring your knee all the way down with an upright upper body, as well as reverse the movement. And now this is where we can have real fun with this exercise. You will use weight on only one side, which is gonna massively increase the amount of core engagement as well as stabilization and balance benefits we can get from this exercise. Not to mention that additional resistance, of course, means that we need a lot more strength, and we will be building a lot more strength as well. And of course, by simply moving the weight to the other side, you're now basically changing the whole entire balance as well as stability part of this exercise, and the strength part as well. Basically a whole new exercise. Then you should also add explosivity, so we can start adding those fast twitch muscle fibers as well, work on our cardio system as well as our athleticism, which sadly goes to waste the older we get. And then, this is for the crazy people out here who want to maximize benefits from every exercise they do, you can massively increase your range of motion by simply moving into an elevation with your front leg as well, adding maximum amounts of flexibility, maximum amounts of strength through an increased range of motion, which is also a way to go through progressive overload. And then you can do everything we did before: the explosive jumping with a longer range of motion, the one-sided kettlebell move with a longer range of motion, switching the kettlebell to the other side with a longer range of motion. And by now, I think you get where I'm going with this. Now, this is by far my favorite prehab exercise, quality of life exercise, rehabilitation exercise, bulletproofing exercise. So if you don't do anything else on this list, please start working on this one. And trust me, within a couple of weeks, you will see some amazing results when it comes to how good your body feels and how much your mobility has improved. I am, of course, talking about the combination of a 90-90 switch with a full body rotation. All the way down, full range of motion, basically going through a complete full body twist. We are now working on our ankles, on our knees, and our hips, on our entire spine, which, trust me, is an essential part of your body, our shoulders, and we're combining them not only with flexibility, not only with strength, but also with coordination, which is one of the things we should be working on the most as we get older and as we progress in our fitness journey, so we can actually progress every single exercise we go through. And here we have a nice combination of all of the major training aspects that exist, from flexibility to coordination, from strength to endurance. Everything in one single movement pattern. We've got internal and external hip rotation. We've got strengthening of all of those joints. We've got complete spinal rotation, which is, by the way, an amazing stretch for our transverse abdominis and for our quads and hip flexors as well. Not to mention that it is amazing at opening up our chest and shoulders as well, specifically as we progress in range of motion to go lower and lower. And it is an exercise that we can progress through no matter what level of fitness or mobility we have, from the total beginner 90-90 switch in a laying down position with the tiniest bit of lumbar rotation and zero strength requirements, to the mid-level wall-assisted variation, where we can simply lean on a wall, go through as long a range of motion as we can muster without experiencing any pain, and using that wall to prop us up and to help us reverse this movement, to simply using hand assistance in a deep squat position, especially in the reversal, which is going to take a little bit more strength than it takes to get into this 90-90 position. And over time, you can start adding lumbar rotation, add more thoracic rotation, and then lengthen every single muscle involved in this rotational movement by stretching them more and more, and lowering down more and more. And if you want a complete breakdown of this exercise, a complete regression, so you can work it step by step, you can check out this video, where we go through it from the very beginner and break it down from every single benefit you can get from this exercise and how to work them separately if that is something you want to do. Now look, I know static exercises can be a real hassle and can get pretty boring, especially if you are strong enough to hold them for longer periods of time. However, there is one static exercise that you should be adding to your repertoire that can change your entire body's control and tension capabilities, and that you will, trust me, not be able to hold for longer periods of time because it can get this intensive. I am of course talking about the classic Lane plank and your progression to get there, which might become quite the challenge, but that's what makes it so interesting. For the total beginner, starting in an assisted plank, working your way up to a classic plank, and all you need to do from here is simply move forward until you can hold this for 10 to 15 seconds. Move forward until you can hold this for 10 to 15 seconds. Just to switch it up a little bit, move backwards until you can hold this for etc, 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 until you're all the way down and can hold this for 10 to 15 seconds. Minimum though. You can of course work your way up to holding them longer, but here is something you need to keep in mind when going through all of those plank movements. This is very important. Our pelvic position will make or break our plank benefits. You want to move into enough of a pelvic tilt to be able to flex your entire anterior chain, which means that you're actively moving into lumbar flexion. If you start working on your plank and this happens, you are missing half the benefits of this exercise that we need for our core. And it's also a nice way to work on strengthening your pelvic tilt capabilities by simply moving from this extension into flexion. Once you start elongating your body, over time, you will become weaker during the movement to fall into extension again, which is your cue to move into flexion. And those of you who are paying attention will now notice that one of the things we worked on before come into play, which is hip extension, which we do by flexing our glutes, which if they are weak, you won't be able to hold any of those planks correctly. Now last but not least, we're gonna flip this shit around because we have worked a lot on our anterior chain, but we are missing one crucial part yet, which we can remedy by going through the reverse tabletop exercise, flexing our entire posterior chain, combining calf strength with bicep strength, glute strength, spinal erector strength, opening up our chest and shoulders for an amazing stretch here, adding onto the benefits we get from the passive hang or dead hang when it comes to our shoulder mobility, and most importantly, strengthening that posterior chain in a more connected way where every single muscle fiber is flexed and working in conjunction with each other. And here's something you can do to make this even more amazing, working dynamically, moving shoulders towards your fingertips, and then knees towards your toes. And most importantly here, try not to fall down with your hips. Actively elevate them and keep them fixed at knee height during the entire movement. And just going through this a handful of times, you will notice if you have any sort of weaknesses in your posterior chain, because those muscles will start cramping. And this will also give you a clue which muscles you need to work on more and which muscles are probably strong enough for now. Of course, we can add some rotation in our spine as well by now switching from a low position to a high position, opening up, holding the top point before we reverse. You can sit down all the way, or you can keep your butt up so you have complete tension all the way throughout the exercise. Feels absolutely amazing and is a great exercise to bulletproof your joints, including your elbows, by the way, while working on static strength and flexibility. Now, when it comes to programming, you can actually make this very simple. Just take all of these exercises, put into one workout the same way we went through it today. Work your way through 2 to 3 sets for every single one of those exercises. And if you can do this twice a week, that would be absolutely amazing and should be more than enough to help you see some results. And since most of those exercises are pretty low impact, you can actually do those pretty much every single day if you want to. Or of course, you can take just 1 or 2 of those exercises. If you do not enjoy any of the rest, just take the ones that you will like the most and add them to whatever training repertoire you already have. With that said, if you liked the video, come on, like the video and subscribe, join us. We do stuff like that very regularly. And of course, you can unsubscribe whenever you feel like it. And I will probably see you very soon. So until then, have a good one. Captain Cairo, Peace out.